What's up, YouTube? Silver Dragons here, and in this video we're going to talk about inflation. As you can see, we are now at a 39-year high. So inflation is the highest it's been since the early 80s, which is crazy. We are breaking records month after month after month. So we're going to talk about this, but then also we'll talk about why gold and silver prices haven't really jumped up, because I know a lot of people are wondering, if inflation is so high and gold and silver are supposed to be a hedge against inflation, why have they not really moved that much? In fact, why have they gone down over the last month or so? So definitely something worth talking about. We're going to start off here with this Market Watch article, and it says U.S. inflation rate swells to 39-year high of 6.8% as Americans pay higher prices for almost everything. So we have a picture of this lady shopping for a washer-dryer combo or something like that. Not exactly sure. All right, the numbers. The cost of living climbed again in November and drove the rate of U.S. inflation to a nearly 40-year of 6.8%. I'm assuming they meant to say 40-year high, putting more pressure on households as they confront rising prices of gas, food, cars, rent, and so forth. The Consumer Price Index, or the CPI, increased 0.8% last month, the government said Friday. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast a 0.7% advance. So inflation was worse than they expected. No surprise there, to me anyway. The pace of inflation over the past year escalated to 6.8% from 6.2% in the prior month. That's more than triple the Federal Reserve's 2% target and is the highest rate since July 1982. So back in July 1982, we had inflation where it is now. So here's the chart. We can actually take a better look at this. And back in the early 80s, inflation was around 7%. You can see. And then all the way till today, we are now back there. So, look at this. Look at this line. I mean, is inflation going to keep going up? What do you guys think? Are we going to have a dip, or is it going to keep on going with this current trajectory? I mean, some people are saying next year we could have 9% inflation. I don't know. A string of higher than expected inflation readings since the summer is likely to push the Fed to speed up plans to phase out stimulus for the economy by the early spring, several months earlier than it had planned. Top central bank officials meet next week to plot their next step. Worried about the economic and political consequences, the White House has also moved to try to help untangle knots in the U.S. supply chain that are contributing to high inflation. Many goods and materials are in short supply, and prices have risen as a result. Another closely watched measure of inflation that emits volatile food and energy costs jumped 0.5% last month. This so-called core rate is closely followed by economists as a more accurate measure of underlying inflation. I do think it's kind of crazy that they're saying the core rate is a more accurate measure of underlying inflation when, in my opinion, a more accurate measure of inflation is the actual price of things that we're buying. Like if they take out the substitution bias from the CPI, then, inflation is way higher than what they're saying it is right now. But what do I know? I'm not an economist. So it goes on to say the 12th month increase in the core rate climbed to 4.9% from 4.6% and remained at a 30-year peak. The last time the core rate reached 5% was in mid-1991. Soaring inflation is outstripping the biggest increase in worker wages in decades. Inflation-adjusted hourly pay was 1.9% lower in November compared to a year ago. Paychecks aren't buying as much as they used to buy. Big picture, the stunning surge in U.S. prices this year could peak in the next few months as supply chain bottlenecks are gradually undone, but high inflation is likely to last well into 2022. I'm sure it will last well into 2022. And I think this is pretty interesting. Inflation-adjusted hourly pay was 1.9% lower in November compared to a year ago. So literally, you're making more money, at least it seems like you are. You know, your paycheck is bigger, you got this raise, you know, the COLA, cost of living adjustment, or whatever you got. And so you're like, yeah, finally bringing home that big paycheck. But your pay is actually lower than it was last year because inflation has gone up so much. So just a really interesting concept there. All right, now let's talk about precious metals prices. Why are gold and silver not higher right now? Why are they flat or maybe even going down? What is going on here? I mean, gold and silver are supposed to be this hedge against inflation. That's what everyone always says, right? It's the safe haven asset. People flock to gold and silver when they're worried about inflation. And so if inflation is really at a basically 40-year high, why are gold and silver not higher? That's the question here. And I think it depends on who is actually asking the question, because if I'm talking to someone who just got into gold and silver over the last few months, that's a lot different than if I'm talking to someone who's been stacking for a few years. Let me explain why. Here is a look at the 1-year gold chart. So the highest it's been over the last year, 1951. The lowest is 1684. And currently gold is around 1776. So it's been up and down a bit this year, but if we zoom out, and now we're looking at the 5-year chart for gold. So the high, 2070, that was last year, and it was in fact the all-time high for gold, and the low, $1,127. So, as you can imagine, if you were stacking gold in 2017, 2018, 2019, when inflation was relatively low, but more importantly, inflation expectations were relatively low, gold price didn't change that much. And then when inflation expectations increased, that's when we saw gold shoot up. We're now seeing the high inflation, but people are expecting inflation to go down next year. For some reason, people think that the government is going to be able to fix the supply chain issues. And when they fix the supply chain issues, then magically inflation is going to come down. Everything is going to go back to normal. We will be at our 2% target year over year, and there's no reason to store your money in gold and silver because you could just put it in the stock market. Everything's going to continue to go up for all eternity, and we're all going to be super wealthy, right? That's what people think, and it's laughable. It's honestly laughable to think that all of inflation right now is because of supply chain issues is absolutely ridiculous. There's a bigger problem out there than supply chain issues. It's this stuff right here, the nature of fiat currency. The government can magically create as much of this as they want to fix any problem. And will there be more problems down the road? You better bet your bottom dollar there's going to be more problems down the road. So if there's a stock market crash, if there's more lockdowns and whatnot, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to have more stimulus, more bailouts, all this kind of stuff. They're going to create more currency. What if they want to spend more money than we have? Are they just going to tax us all to death? Or are they going to create more currency? What are they going to do? The answer is print. That's what they've been doing. That is the problem. That's why we're seeing all of this inflation right now. Now, will they tax you on top of inflation? Yes, of course. The taxes are not going to stop, but inflation is going to continue. I mean, this is double tax, right? Inflation is like that hidden tax, but it's not really hidden anymore. I mean, we can all see it right now. The buying power of the dollar is going down. It's declining next year. I do believe we will see inflation continue. It will probably even get higher. So, how high can it go? Well, it could go up forever. If we go into hyperinflation, then you're really screwed. But why are gold and silver prices not higher right now? I think there's a few different factors, and of course, I don't have all of the answers, right? Some of this is opinion based, but I think that the demand for gold and silver is just low because people are not interested in buying it. They're more interested in perhaps crypto, they want to get that home run score. They don't want to just store their wealth. They want to try and gamble it and create a massive amount of wealth. I think that is very popular right now. I mean, a lot of people are looking at cryptos, but also people think that the economy is going to recover, that they should be putting their money in tech stocks or entertainment stocks, stuff like that. They don't need that safe haven. And I think they're completely wrong. I mean, do you remember bull runs in the past when there was all of those We Buy Gold stores popping up in the mall? There was, commercials on TV. Look at silver, look at gold. None of that is happening right now. The mainstream media is just not talking about precious metals very much or at all. So anyway, back to what I said earlier. If you're relatively new to silver and gold and you've seen that they've been flat or even down for the day or the week or whatever, that has to do with short-term volatility. Different news items will come out and push the price of precious metals lower. But the thing is, for us that have been stacking for a long time, we actually have seen a huge rise in the price of silver and gold. I remember buying silver for $12 an ounce, buying gold for $1,200 an ounce, and I just can't do that anymore. The prices have gone up a lot over the last few years. So anyway, sort of to wrap all of this up, I guess I'll just end on saying that I am still buying more silver. I'm buying more gold. I think that we are in a super cycle. I think that over the next 10 or 20 years, we will see precious metals take off. I don't know when. Will it be next year? Will there be a stock market crash when the Fed tries to raise interest rates? That is quite possible. So we'll have to wait and see how all of that pans out. But I am curious what your thoughts are on precious metals. Why are the prices not taking off right now with all of this inflation? Are we too early? Is it possible that people think the government will be able to get inflation under control, and when they realize that they can't, then they will flock to precious metals? Maybe. I mean, it is important to be a contrarian investor. You don't want to get into something when it is at the peak. You want to get into it before then, right? And I think silver and gold have a lot of room to go. There's a lot of upside potential. We're definitely not at the peak right now. So anyway, I'm still buying more. But I do want to say a massive thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you all in the next one. Silver Dragons out.